every day I'd go to the studio for 7 hours a day and work. About 5 months into it, I realized that, like, as a full-time studio artist, I just got kind of weird. Like, you know, like, because, like, I wasn't really, like, seeing anybody or...
Wait. Oh, like, did the isolation made you, like
kind of like...
It's like when people live alone and they forget, like, how they smell kind of thing?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, I was definitely getting, like, you know, like, peering out the window and being like, oh, it's that old lady walking that loud dog again. I hate her. You know, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you need friends.
Yeah.
Time to go get some friends.
Welcome to What's My Thesis? I'm your host, Javier Proenza. Every week, my guests and I share the answers we found to the questions we have. Join us as we explore and expand our worldview and ask, what's my thesis? And today, my guest is Carl Baratta, director of TSA?
Co-director.
Co-director, sorry.
Yeah.
TSA is Tiger Strike's Asteroid, Los Angeles. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization, just so we have a context?
Sure. So there's 5 spaces. LA is one of the newer ones, but not quite the newest. So it started out in Philadelphia, then one opened up in New York, then LA, then Chicago, and then one down in Greenville, South Carolina. And in that growth, we became nonprofit. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And we, Monta Vista, which I'm a member of, we rent out a space, so we're like neighbors, essentially, or we rent out the space together, right?
Yeah.
And then we pay rent to you guys, or maybe we shouldn't be disclosing too much details about our finances, but yeah. So that's kind of how we met. Although you are very well known throughout the scene. Like, I think there was one Halloween where 3 people dressed up as Carl of different colors. There was an RGB, actually, wasn't that? It was a red, blue, green. Yeah,
and Hagop dressed up as me, and there's a video that I'm not in, but he's in as me, and you can hear me. He's like, I'm Carl.
So you're definitely well established, and you have a reputation for being like really supportive, which is one of the things that I'm very excited to know about, to get to meet you. Because I mean, like when you show up to I know you peripherally. This is the first time we're actually gonna have a sit down, an actual like conversation where that's not like gallery based. You know, like there's a difference.
Yeah,
especially when you're dealing with podcasting, it's a lot more intimate. In specific ways. But, okay, so just to give people a context of the kind of person that you do sweat a lot for the arts. Is there, how did you get to have that much energy to do all this stuff?
I just don't sleep very much, I guess.
Is that for real? Like, are you a bit of an insomniac?
Yeah. But I think probably the more serious thing is I just really like interacting with the art community. And I don't have anything against the commercial side of it, but the sort of nonprofit alt space stuff really is exciting and meaningful. And so the more I do, the more people I know, the more I do, and then it's just been really fulfilling. So that's why I do it.
And how long have you been an artist, like identified as an artist?
Since my first show was in Rome. I studied over in Rome through Temple back in like 97. And my intern job was helping with the gallery.
Okay.
And then I got put into a show, group show while I was there. And so I got to hang out with artists and stuff like that. And I sold my painting for I think it ended up being like $50. And I was like, this is so cool. I was like, I'm going to do this forever. And so that kind of got me started. And that's, I'll be 47 in a couple weeks, so it's over half my life.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
You make 47 look like 30.
Oh, it's the lighting.
No, I had no idea you were I mean, not that you're.
Yeah, I'm super old.
I didn't.
I'm in the winter of
I didn't
my
know
life.
you were so wise. Is what I meant to say. But cool. And then, where did you grow up? So you studied. Did you know that I grew up in Rome? When you said that you went to school in Rome? Because you kind of gestured, but I couldn't tell.
No, because we were talking about Florence.
Yeah. So I grew up over there as a kid. So.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So I definitely have a vivid understanding of what it must be like to like study abroad there.
Yeah, I was. So it was the Temple program, and it was near the Tiber.
Okay.
Over by Piazza del Popolo.
All right.
That was my hood.
By the time we used to live in Eud, which is like on the outskirts. It's the more fascist. It's the Mussolini swamp drained area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they were marshlands that he
cleared
out, and then it's like suburban but fascist. Like
I went out there to go. I forget what I was doing. I mean, this is 24 years ago or whatever. But for some reason, I had gone out that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember it.
And it's anyway. The point being that Rome is a very crazy city because it's like very ancient but also very modern.
Yeah.
And as like a point of influence, that was a big deal to me growing up. Like that's kind of one of the things that I got into was sci-fi a lot, and it's like it is a weird sort of. It lives in that weird space where you have all these. It's like four cities on top of each other.
Yeah.
But anyway, so where did you grow up?
That's true. Massachusetts, moved to Pennsylvania, lived in Philadelphia, lived sometime in New York, kind of ping-ponging back between... I had a girlfriend there. So I'd take the Dragon Bus line from Chinatown to Chinatown.
Okay.
They were great. Like, they'd play, like, kung fu movies and...
There was a train that went from Chinatown.
It was a bus.
It was a bus? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And then from there moved to Chicago for grad school. And then lived and taught at the Art Institute of Chicago for... I was there for a total of 10 years, so a decade. And then there was like this super cold storm that came through. And it just like... My wife and I were just like, fuck this shit. And so...
So it was colder than usual?
Yeah, it was like -40 with the wind chill.
Okay.
And I actually had a little piece of my ear get frostbite and fall out. But it was only the size of a pin, but I can still feel it if I touch my ear. It's really weird.
Okay.
Yeah. It
was like really fucking cold.
It was cold. And like to get that on the way out the door was like trying to... It felt like I was leaving some crazy murderous girlfriend or something. Like, how dare you leave me? So then we moved here. And we were here 8 years, like a month ago. Mm-hmm. Or this month.
8 years, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I moved like sometime in 2008. So the other day I was talking to someone and I realized I had been here the longest that I've ever been anywhere.
Yeah.
And then that got scary. I was like, am I going to die here?
Probably. The answer is probably.
I don't know. With climate change, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how long it's pleasant still.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm not, I don't do well with cold either. I'm from Florida, technically. It's Miami Cuban, but like, man, when I'm over there, I sweat so much.
The humidity is not cool.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I have really great memories, but every time I remember, I always have to remember that like I was sweating, like that it was fun, but it was like sticky.
Yeah, no, that's swamp ass.
Yeah,
fuck that. No way.
But okay, and then so you came directly here from cold climate from Chicago.
Yeah, it was a 70-degree difference.
What was it like when you first? How did you like adjust? Because for me, when I came here from Miami, the art scene was a lot more decentralized. Yeah. Like over there in Miami, it was Wynwood. I don't know what the art scene in Chicago is like. Maybe describe it a little bit and in its differences to LA.
Well, I don't... Well, okay, so it's smaller. Mm-hmm. And so which is fine. But there's like really kind of like only so much you can do. It's also very driven by the universities, particularly the Art Institute of Chicago. And so there's a lot of like kind of, there's really like two different things going on at a time, you know? So like zombie abstraction was a thing, and then that's all you would see. Or
What can you maybe explain that? What is
that was like a
just
derogatory term for this type of abstraction that was going on, like I guess 10 years ago, where it was just like useless blob paintings, and it was a dark time, but
but it wasn't like abstractions of zombies.
no, I wish.
Because that sounds like
That sounds like way cooler. No,
it also sounds terrible, but
no, it was like the dead walking as an abstraction, and you're like, ugh.
yeah,
You know, but the alt scene there was amazing, and that's like I've been working with alternative spaces since the beginning. But that was Chicago is where it really kind of I was really got into it fully, and I'm not dissing Chicago's art scene, by the way.
No,
like,
it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah,
the question wasn't like challenging it. I mean, I figured like I think the only thing that you said that might be considered like, hey, is that it's smaller. But I mean, I figured just like Miami's scene has got to be smaller than LA's. Like, there's just so many artists out here.
I mean, I believe that LA County's landmass is comparable to Switzerland.
Okay.
So it's just more people, so the art scene's bigger.
Yeah.
There's also a culture out here that has more collectors than it does in Chicago.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's more like people want to have food experiences in Chicago.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So,
it's a great food town.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've been there once. It was lovely. It was during the summer. So I have a very, very like everybody's out and having a good time.
That's absolutely
vibe.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never done the like, fuck this cold.
Oh, no. And don't bother.
Although I went to a Cubs game and it was fun, but there was like these people that were just throwing shit at me. Like it was a very, I don't want to like characterize all of Chicago based on that experience, but it was like, damn, that's really aggressive. Like some guy just like decided to fuck with me.
Yeah. That sounds on brand.
Okay. Well, that's.
I mean, for sports, it's not like in the art
Yeah.
scene, somebody's going to chuck a brush at your eyeball or something.
Now we're slandering sports fans. That's funny. Were you ever into sports at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
It was funny. Well, a little side tangent, but I watched Major League Baseball on Apple TV, and it was so fucking surreal because it's not like the TBS era where they have just like an old guy that knows a lot of shit about it. Like it was like a podcast,
Right? Yeah.
And then like all of the references were promoting shows on this on Apple Plus, which is not that different because TBS used to do it. But the idea of like this free roaming, like they weren't rattling off thousands of statistics, and I'm like, are they trying to appeal to more people? Because that was like what I liked about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like it's like, well, this guy's done this. Now they just have a little thing at the bottom that says like chances that he'll hit is like this %. Chances that he'll get an RBI. And I was like, man, there's something lost in that where like that's basically what the announcer used to do.
Yeah. So I, for the first time, I think in about 15 years, watched a sporting event. It was the Super Bowl recently.
Oh my God. That one I don't even watch anymore.
No, my neighbor was really cool and invited us over, and it was outside, and we had snacks, so that was cool. But, I think like I don't know anything about sports, and then in general, and then like I don't like commercials, and so that's like literally the whole thing, and so I mostly just like hung out and ate snacks.
Yeah, that was the other thing
said
about
hi to people.
There was so many fucking commercials, and since it's baseball, you can't like cut away. Yeah, so I don't know. For a second, I got through maybe 6 innings before I was just like, all right, they won. I live close enough that I could hear the Dodgers. The Dodgers were playing. I could hear the fireworks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's like a thing in my neighborhood where a lot of people are like, they still call them the gentrifiers, which is legit. I'm not like belittling that, but I thought it was like, I had never made the connection, and it was like 1957, which is like, it's fair on you to like hold a grudge that long, you know?
Yeah.
And like, because it's pretty fair, but at the same time, I was just like, I had never made that,
Right.
made that thought where it's like, it's over 50 years ago,
Right.
you know? So anyway, let's get out of neighborhood politics, but although I had Emily on the show, and fair enough that she didn't talk about it, but she was vandalized her piece was vandalized at a Bull Heights gallery, and I didn't even know about that shit. And I was like, oh my god, that's
that was at Dalton Warehouse, right? Was it the Dalton Warehouse one?
I think so.
Yeah, these guys came in with red paint and threw it on stuff.
Oh my god!
And then they were like, "Go back to Europe," which sounds great. I mean, I'd love to go back to Europe. I was sure.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like I don't know. It sucks. I had always been a little bit like supportive of the idea of like protesting galleries, but that's like, you're not fucking hurting the gallery, you're hurting the artist, right? So it's such a crazy...
also too, like they were showing if I remember correctly, like there were local artists in the space, and really like I agree that like that stuff can sort of bring in. I can see where they're coming from, but really, I mean, you know, organizing against the landlords and stuff like that would be a little more productive than chucking red paint on some nerdy artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's sort of made it real for me on the other side. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm going to have to ask Emily if I can use her name, because I don't necessarily want to bring her into this huge political like debate about gentrification. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't want to be outed, but I can just bleep out her name if that's the case.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But okay, to safer topics. You have a topic in particular that you wanted to talk about, right? Which was or you mentioned it. I don't know if you remember what you had said, but you wanted to talk about organizing the exchanges.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that's something. Well, you know.
Unless you have another topic since. I don't want to pin you.
I mean, honestly, that's pretty much all I do.
I know. That's what you said.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's eat, sleep, shit, this stuff. Yeah, it takes up a lot of headspace. No, let's do it. So, the last couple of years have not been my most, like, creative years in the studio. And I realized early on during lockdown that I had enough energy to do, you know, 1.5 things. Uh-huh. And so my studio practice, I took outside and hiked through the Hollywood Hills and made lots of black and white drawings and stuff.
Some of which you can see in the background if you're watching on YouTube.
Right.
That's my... Hey, maybe you should check us out on YouTube plug.
That was good. That was real smooth.
And then while you're there, why don't you comment about this conversation?
Yeah.
I'm just like now unloading.
What do they say? Like, smash the like button. Isn't that what the kids say?
That's it's exactly what the kids say. You know Dakota Newt, right? When he was on the show, he was like, he just kept doing that. He would say something, it was like, comment down below. I was like, dude, this is amazing. I should hire you as a media strategist.
Yeah. But yeah, so we... So early on, I was talking to some of the other folks, and we had been locked down for a minute, and I helped my friend Danny Dodge move out of her apartment to another apartment, and we were hanging outside afterwards, you know, socially distanced, and we were drinking Bloody Marys, and we were just kind of talking about how nice it was to see another human being. And so we started talking about like what would Mad Max do for our art show, and that's how we got High Beam started.
Yeah, as you're explaining this, I felt like I derelict in my duties as a host because I didn't bring up that you were the co-creator of High Beams.
Yeah, it's like I'm one of 5, but yeah. So we started doing drive-through art shows, and so basically I decided like that's what I wanted to focus on.
Okay.
And so we did collective, like we sort of unofficially called it like a collective of collectives. And we did one in the parking lot. It was like September 2020, and it was a heat wave. And we got all these people to participate, and we had over 150 cars come through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We caused like a traffic jam down the street and stuff. It was so cool. And everybody was like so stoked to be out.
Yeah,
it was really like kind of the first thing many, many, many people had done.
Yeah.
And it got us all supercharged. So we were like, let's do a second one. And then we were working with the Bendex building, which they've been absolutely instrumental for the success of our galleries, honestly. Like, it's a great building, and the people who work there are really generous. And they let us do a show in the back parking lot. And then we did our first Halloween one here at Gallery also.
I showed at the first one through
Molly?
Yeah, through Molly.
Okay.
And then at
so you were part of the sculpture garden.
Yeah, I had for people that don't know, I did a soy sauce fountain, which was dripping soy sauce.
I remember that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. And then I came to this one here at Also Gallery.
Yeah.
And by the way, we are not just at your studio. We're at Also Gallery, which I can shout out to Deborah Bros, who's also here.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else I should disclose.
Well, Easton Miller, he runs it. So I'm also part of Also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they do shows.
We'll have shows coming back hopefully this summer. It's got derailed once again, but
yeah. I mean, Monte Vista's been struggling to get.
I mean,
things
everybody's
going.
like,
it's hard.
We're getting there.
It's hard to because now you're just processing what you've been through, and you're trying to go back out into the world, and it's like, oh my god. But anyway, during that was the first time that I had a really fun time, and when I showed up, my first thought was I fucking love weirdos. I was so happy to be among like-minded people. You were wearing a butt wings.
Oh yeah, whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, and I felt so ashamed that I didn't get dressed up. And then next year that we did it, the next year that there was a Halloween one, I dressed up as a raver, as myself as a raver.
That's great.
So I felt so bad, and I had missed out on some of the fun that was to be had.
Right.
Because everybody was looking so great. But anyway, so tell us about that show and more, a little bit more about High Beams.
So that was our Halloween show. That actually was the second one. No. We've had a musical component, like musicians of all sorts of different types also perform in all of them. And that's been really interesting because that's not something that I had sort of been part of to help organize. So that was really interesting and fun. That's kind of it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. Forget it. So we had some mini golf here and videos and live music and stuff like that. And that one was really cool because that was right before election and everybody was wigging out because, everybody's talking about Civil War and all this other stuff. And so, it was so fucking crazy. So we were just basically like, hey, the world's insane. Come take a break. You know, like, and it worked out really, really well.
It was a relief, man. And people were like, you could tell people were really happy.
Yeah.
Everybody, the costumes were great.
Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I sort of later on, like looking back at it, realized was like, you know, when we do a high beams, we pick these really specific places to do them, and then we go there and we, you know, lightly curate. We usually just pick folks that we know will do a good job, and we've all been in lockdown, so we were extra open about like what people show and stuff like that, because that was, you know, the point, or one of the points. So, but what I realized was it wasn't just physically where we were at, but kind of like where we were at with vaccination. Mm-hmm. So I remember during the second one, I heard a lot of people, not creepy style like I was listening in, but like I was at the front waving people in with this flag for a drive-through, but hardly anybody drove through for the second one because everybody had started to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
And so I heard like, hey, it's been so long since I've seen you. Can I give you a hug? You know, and I felt like, oh. And then, you know, by the third one, people were a little slightly more used to like hanging out outside and that kind of thing. And then the fourth one we did down at the parking lot of Torrance Art Museum. And that was a daytime one. Usually we do them at night.
It was hot that day. I didn't bring sunscreen, and I was like, dude, I gotta go.
Yeah, there was so many people who forgot sunscreen because we forgot how to be humans and do things outside and all this. But that one was like probably the most sober Burning Man.
Yes.
And, you know, but it was great. And we had like 16 or 18 galleries came and did it. Because one thing I realized, like, doing these big organizational things is usually the first one you get, like, the trailblazers, and then everybody else sees it, and then it gets a lot easier because there's, like, proof of concept, you know, like, oh, they can do this. Yeah. So we've been kind of growing them out since then.
In terms of booking venues, you mean specifically, or
the whole
just
thing? Everybody? Like getting collectives there, getting artists involved.
I can't imagine that it was hard to get collectives for you, sir. Knowing so goddamn many.
I mean, well, it wasn't hard to get them on board. It's like keeping them excited.
Okay.
And you know,
I do hear that there are a lot of Zoom calls.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're also forgetting, there were two near the Bendix. There was one behind the Bendix.
That's the second one, yeah.
No, there
was the first one across the street. The second one was the back parking lot. Okay.
Then it was here.
Then it was Torrance.
And then a year later it was on the roof.
Yeah, we were going to do the roof the year before, but, you know, we had like a wave of the Rona come through, and nobody wanted to get on an elevator, and the roof's 11 stories up.
I see the logistics are a
Yes,
problem.
the logistics were a big problem. So we waited a year, but it turned out great. If anybody wants to check that stuff out, it's highbeams.art. So write it down. Or
highbeams.art. And then you guys have an Instagram, which you don't run, I imagine, because you have a healthy lifestyle.
Well, okay. I quit social media 2 years ago.
Okay.
And
right at the height of like everybody freaking out, which makes sense.
Yeah, well, I had my own actual things going on, and I didn't need to adopt anybody else's, and like I couldn't filter that out to the point that I actually stopped watching TV.
Wow.
Because I was like, this is somebody else's drama. No.
Oh, like scripted television, you mean?
Yeah, I couldn't anything. I was on like maximum overload, so I just.
Yeah, you told me a little bit about that off air. It sounds legit. It sounds like I like based on what you described. It sounds like it would be a lot to hear someone else. Like, oh, really? Yeah.
I think we were watching like Better Call Saul.
Oh my god!
And I was like, no.
I have problems with that show. We don't have to get into that.
No, I mean, I quit it. I quit. I just kind of. I don't know. I just had to focus on other things. So some of the other projects I've been working on was I helped organize the 5 Tiger Strikes Asteroid spaces and paired them with 5 galleries in Berlin, and we just got back from that.
Oh, so you just did that this year?
Yeah, I just did that like a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, because I did see some people were over there.
Yeah.
I mean, since you're not on social media, it didn't make the connection that you would be there.
Yeah, no, if you look in the back of the...
Other people's photos?
Yeah, because I'm tall, so I'm always like in the back. Everybody sticks me in the back, so I'm a little head in the back, like, yay! Yeah, so we ended up doing 6 shows. There was a group show with a lot of the Berliners involved, along with different members from the different sites. We did a performance evening, and we did a movie screening.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you did that as all 5 TSAs?
Yeah, so we did it as the network.
And then you did how many spaces did you guys show at?
6.
6, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there were 6 shows, so there was each space, so like Philly, New York, Chicago, LA, South Carolina, all had paired up with a gallery. And next year what'll happen is each space that hosted us will go to the city that they hosted and do a show here in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's going to be happening, well, it's happening now because that's when we're releasing the episode.
Right, right. Well, then the other project is one that I was working in 2019 where myself, Daniel Weissenfeld, and Max Presnell got together and put together 40 galleries. So 20 LA galleries matched with 20 Berlin galleries, and we went over.
Is this separate from BLA Connect?
No, that's BLA Connect.
Okay.
This other one that I just told you about it's confusing.
Okay, so there's 2 Berlin exchanges.
Yeah, and
okay.
they were supposed to be more spaced out, but everything's been kind of...
Yeah, compressed because the world
we're all
is,
catching up and freaking out. And
I just heard Made in LA is it's on sabbatical, and I was like, yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Not the Hammer show.
Right,
Don't freak out.
But those guys are going to come over. We were supposed to have them come in 2020, but womp womp.
Yeah.
And then 21, womp womp, part 2. So they'll be...
That's why I was confused about you going over there. Because then you guys had already gone over there in 2020, right? And then
2019.
2019. And this is... You're doing the return part now.
Yeah. For this, which is separate. Yeah, so
from the
one
other
is
thing.
the
Yeah,
network.
okay.
This other one's with the city.
Yeah, because that's what I remember that you had already gone there.
Yeah.
Because
I went for another time too, but that's a whole other thing.
I have some questions about the art scene in Germany. Then,
Yeah.
but if you can finish describing.
So well, they'll be here in July. There's going to be staggered openings around the city. There's going to be organized openings at the Bendex, and there's 8 or 9 participating galleries in the Bendex, and the Bendex is also sponsoring us. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to open up any artist studios that want to have like open studio night. They can be there too and meet everybody. So the whole building is going to be open. It's all going to be art stuff, and it's going to be super fun.
What night is that?
That's going to be July 9th, Saturday.
9th. Okay.
Yeah.
So the weekend after July 4th. So if you want to keep partying,
right? Yeah, or if you want to save it up because our shit's going to be way better. But yeah, so there'll be stuff running from the 7th to I want to say the 12th. So we'll also have a film screening, and we're going to do something on the roof again. We're going to have a performance night on the roof as sort of the grand finale of the festival.
So not on the 9th. That's a separate night.
That's a separate night. That'll be on, I believe, the 12th.
Yeah. The roof party was so legendary that I think recently I think it was when you guys did the TSA LA show opening, the one with Rebecca Forstater and maybe you don't know all the artists who were in there. The last show that you guys put up.
The one that Kate curated with the Celebrity?
Yeah, Celebrity.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so on that night...
I was in Berlin.
Oh, okay. Someone was asking... Yeah, actually, I was like, where is he?
Yeah.
Someone was asking if the roof was open, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." And I did the most evil thing. I was like, "It was awesome, though."
Yeah. well, now that it's kind of got out that
that happens.
Yeah, we get requests all the time. Like, I'd love to go to the roof. It's like, yeah, there's like security and insurance and like all of this logistical stuff before they can open up the door. Yeah. So it's not like,
I'm still jealous of the people that got all the way up, because there was a second like layer that I didn't get access to as a guest. And
yeah, that was so we had some drones being flown around filming, and also doing an art piece where they actually projected real time from up above, and so you could interact with it and stuff. It was cool. That was one of the pieces at the last Halloween show. But this one will be performances of Berliners and Angelinos. Mm-hmm. And it'll run a couple hours, but we'll take breaks and stuff, and you can kind of, everybody's going to want to take pictures and stuff because it's so amazing up there.
Yeah. Are you going to have Jamie do the net thing again, or are you guys going to, because that takes up so much space, but that was amazing.
I know, it was so fun. Okay, so this
for people that don't know, our friend Jamie Hamilton, he put up a net that he made himself to catch himself from while he does tightrope walking. Right. And he put it like at a slant on the roof so you could like look out onto the city. It was
a giant hammock.
Yes.
And it was a 2-night event, so I had to get there early because I was kind of heading it. Mm-hmm. And I got there and I was exhausted because the first night we did all the installation. Well, we did installation on Friday, and then it was open Saturday and Sunday. So I was going into my third day of getting everything set up. And I climbed up onto the hammock thing overlooking downtown LA, and this cool breeze came by, and I totally fell asleep.
It was great because he was out there spotting people, just making sure.
Yeah.
Because it was a little freaky, but it felt pretty safe.
I mean,
it's elastic, so that was the concern. I think if you like bounce on it, you might
people were like, "Don't launch my children." But we had checked all the stuff and we worked it out with the building again, who were just like really amazing about letting us even attempt such a thing, and they were really happy with it. No one died.
Thank God.
That's a plus. That's always a plus.
That could have taken a real turn. The end of high beams.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that would have sucked. Yeah.
I like the thought just registering how dark that, like, you're like laughing and then you just were like, no, yeah, that would have been terrible.
That would have been pretty bad. But yeah, any rate.
So 2 questions. Can you, because I don't think a lot, I mean, it exists everywhere, I'm sure, but the Bendix building is a pretty specific thing in LA. Are there other buildings that have that many gallery spaces?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
We're kind of a special thing.
So what I try to describe, the way that I describe it is like an art mall, but that doesn't really do it justice because you picture a mall, right? Like,
yeah.
It's like a one-stop shop with a lot of galleries that's vertical.
Right. And there's a couple of commercial ones, and there's
like Track 16.
Right. Track 16. Yeah, Track 16.
It throttles the line, but it sells work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
does TSA try to sell work, or does it do it mostly to fundraise? Because it's a nonprofit, right?
Yeah, it's mostly. Yeah, we don't really focus on that.
But if someone wants to buy a piece, you're not going to be like, no, the artist can never sell that piece because it's shown here.
we rule with an iron grip.
You sell it to somebody that's not you because you saw it in this space.
Yeah,
anybody else, you're disqualified.
Yeah, you can't get in the door unless you sign like a whole bunch of paperwork and
awesome.
Stuff. Yeah.
Well, now you know.
It's incredibly uncomfortable.
I wonder what your co-director is going to think of this interview, this part of the interview.
He'll probably go, car roll,
That's not the image we want to put forth. People don't understand irony. And then okay, so that's pretty cool. But then now you have you described. I like the description of high beams as a and we can go back to BLA Connect. But I
Yeah, we can.
but I want to take us back to high beams because the next pitch is pretty interesting for the next show.
Yes. So during the fourth high beams down at Torrance Art Museum, Tiger Six Asteroid was working with a group out in Denver called Hyperlink. Mm-hmm. And they had a blast. And they were like, oh, you should do one in Denver. Okay. So rewind back to the whole what would Mad Max do? We actually were talking about it. And one of the things we talked about was Mad Max would do a convoy. Like that's definitely a Mad Max thing. And we sort of laughed about it. But we're going to jump in our cars and we're going to like get somewhere in Utah, take over a motel, party. Next day, jump in the car and keep going and we'll get to Denver. And then the following day, we're going to do a high beams in Denver.
But are you guys carrying art within like U-Hauls and stuff? Is that like...
I mean...
Are you making like spaces? Because now I want to see people jumping, like... from car to car.
I mean,
to see like just gallery hopping, literally, but it's like moving vehicles.
Right.
No, but
I would do that.
No, I know I shouldn't be encouraging you.
Sounds like a good idea. Thanks for giving it to me.
No, it's your idea. I'm just like literally using your imagery. But so then when you say party at parking lots, essentially like have high beams along the way as well, right? Like
I mean,
unsanctioned, unpermitted, kind of like we're just having beer, but like there's maybe some art in this car.
I'm sure we're still hammering out like some of the specifics, but I'm absolutely sure that we'll be setting up along the way. I'm sure of it. Uh-huh. But the big part of it will be getting to Denver. We have a parking lot. And so we're still banging out like, okay, so usually like when we do them, everybody gets a couple of parking spaces. And so it's set up like a grid, essentially. And that was particularly important in terms of logistics when cars were driving through. Because then we knew where the cars were and where people shouldn't be so nobody got ran over.
Yeah.
But now, because everybody's vaccinated and stuff, nobody wants to drive through anymore. Everybody just wants to go interact with things. So that it changes the type of work. It changes like how you hang it or display it or whatever. So where was I going with that?
Well, I think you guys should do like a trucker convoy like the one in Canada. But like just protesting bad taste.
Yeah. So we can't use so we talked about that. Those asshole trucker dudes screwed up our whole we were going to call it convoy, but that's not cool anymore.
I think convoy is fine. I don't think that those guys were the worst.
I mean, no, they weren't the worst, but they definitely like, I don't know, like there's all these groups that have kind of like popped up over the years, like whether the Boogaloo Boys wear Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
And
now
have
you
beers.
can't wear Hawaiian shirts, which is it seems like you look great in a Hawaiian shirt.
Well, thank you. It's my uniform for the last 20 plus years.
I went through a Hawaiian phase shirt in my early 20s and
then got out of it like a normal person.
No, I mean I would do it again. It's just that like it hasn't come back in style, and I'm a follower.
Oh, I've been doing it so long now that like I've seen it come in style, and I'm like, oh, it's back again. Yeah. Like I think I've been through about 3 or 4 cycles because it's actually over 20 years that I've been wearing Hawaiian shirts.
I wonder how like genuinely Hawaiian, like is it like as they say over there. Which is actually maybe I shouldn't say that shit.
I don't know.
I might get me censored on YouTube.
Oh,
it's
really?
Like, I think it's a slur.
It is a slur.
Yeah.
Anybody I've run into, no, it doesn't seem like anybody gives a shit. Honestly, like it's like, I think the folks who, It's been brought up to me, it's been 22 years, so everything's been brought up to me because it's a long time. But the very few times anybody's ever said anything, it's usually like overly concerned white people, and everybody else doesn't give a shit because everybody's got like real lives and shit going on.
Yeah, they're not like worried that you're a boogaloo boy.
Right, because the other part of their uniform that's pretty crucial is the machine gun. Yeah. I mean, so like that's like probably more of a concern.
That's the problem with all those decentralized kind of organizations. Like, we don't have to talk about the big ones, but I don't know if you've ever watched any Antifa counter protest video.
No.
But some of it is really problematic. Like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, and then you're like, well. So anyway, we don't have to get into a discussion about like factions. We were talking about fashion. But I think you're probably still safe because even the Boogaloo Boys, it's one of those organizations that like there's LGBT members as well. Like it's so confusing.
Yeah.
And then like my thing is like when anybody tells me that someone's like bad, I'm like, oh, why are you telling me that? Like,
right. Yeah.
What's in it for you to make sure that I hate these people?
Right.
That's kind of my new guiding principle because I got burnt out. I mean, we've been through a lot in those 2 years that we've been talking about. That 2 year period is like insane.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, I only in the last 6 months have been able to like watch TV, look at YouTube or anything. I've really been like the guy reading books.
That's probably really healthy.
I mean,
you're much more present and it's active. It's an active participation thing. You have to like build, you have to stay focused. You have to construct the fantasy in your head as opposed to like just like passively like, oh, give it all to me.
Well, I like to be passive sometimes.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But I just like, again, it's just like other people drama stuff. Like, I just couldn't do it. Like, I just like the emotional hotel had no vacancy for years. So it's really like right now, I'm able to sort of like watch a television show.
How novel.
Yeah, and stuff like that. But like basically going back to the whole like presence thing, I mean, I feel like the last couple of years with High Beams, with BLA Connect, with 5x5, which is what the TSA thing is called, those were all like kind of like self-care things. Like I feel like a lot of like pretty much the last couple of years has been like trying to figure out how to not go completely insane. And so these are like, they've really helped me that way. Yeah.
But to me, it's interesting just the amount of energy that you put out. Like, how many is that? That's at least 3. There's High Beams, BLA Connect, 5x5. Then you're also a TSA LA. You do some random shit too. And then you have your own practice.
Right.
Like that, I can relate to the idea of how it is rewarding and it is self-care, because I took a long time off of the show, long enough that, like, I think that I was doing the show so long that I got tired of always being a public person in my mind,
right.
Like not that I'm like famous or anything like that, but that I have to like always watch what I'm saying, in conversations.
It's exhausting.
It is. And then also just always thinking about what to post and how my posts are doing and promoting the whole thing. So I definitely did get burnt out, especially because at the time there was no socializing.
Right.
Right. But it is nice to be able to just come into someone's space, kind of hang out, get a sense, like, there's something definitely that won't translate about being here, but I do like that we hear the trains in the background.
Yeah, I heard those too.
Yeah, the cars are passing by.
Yeah,
like the thin walls of it. I think it's not annoying white noise. We got a helicopter in the background
always,
but I don't know. I do get because it is extra work. I know from talking to people how many Zoom meetings it required to do the High Beams and the like.
We had one every Monday night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's we had one every Monday night. Well, so like people were like, "Can we do less?" And we were like, "Sure." And then we did less, and everybody's like, we missed them. So I'm like, all right, well, they're back on.
Okay.
And then we were like, well, they're optional. You know, like, we're going to take care of stuff, but, you know, so, like, we would have those, but we would have the core of us, we would have Zoom calls. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I teach 6 classes, and all 6 of them were Zoom. That's a lot of Zoom.
Yeah.
That's like a lot.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I in the end, I did not enjoy doing the show through Zoom.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
that makes sense.
Someone's presence. I feel like there were too many episodes where, because there was no like interaction with me in person, like the person would freeze up, and then I would just feel like I needed to fill up the space a little bit more. Whereas like these are just going a lot easier, and I felt like that's how it was before.
Yeah.
When I did just audio, you know, like I used to do just audio at my house, and people would come over, and to some degree it was kind of convenient to do the Zoom thing, but ultimately I wasn't. Like, the product isn't as good.
Well, I mean, if you think about it in terms of practice, being in a room with a human being is something we've been doing since we were born, as opposed to, like, being shoved onto video conferencing. To me, and this is super ignorant, but I always kind of brushed it off as, like, the sad foreign kid in college missed his family, so would use Skype.
Yeah.
Like, it was always kind of relegated to that. I always felt like, oh man, sorry, you know. I'm gonna go see my family in person. Bye. But you know, I guess we all became sad foreign kids.
We did. I actually have been that sad foreign kid. And I remember like the sort of like the distance between you, like. There's something weird about the nostalgia or the homesickness, and then seeing the person leave after the end of a call.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that came to mind. It's just like, oh, you're like, you know.
Yeah. Ugh, fucking.
Okay, so then let's talk a little bit about your practice. Then we could do a little bit of that, because we've talked so much about. So you are a painter?
Yeah.
By practice.
Primarily like painting, drawing, and woodblock prints.
Okay. Do you have access to printmaking stuff right now?
It's okay. So I used to in Chicago. I'm very lucky. I have some very, very, very close people to me who are also like master printers. I mean, it's amazing. And
LA is you're fucking spoiled. That's I came up in another interview, but I did an open call and I accepted everyone because the shit is so good.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah, I mean, well, this was back in Chicago, these two guys, but we still work together. So one of them still lives in Chicago and one of them moved to New York. So what we do is we send each other wood blocks and we carve on them and send drawings and stuff like that. And we still make collaborative woodblock prints.
Nice.
Although I haven't made a whole heck of a lot in the last 2 years.
That's not true. You've been doing your drawing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have, but not like
practice.
normal.
Yeah. It's more practice work rather than like finished products.
Yeah, or I'm just like, I don't even know. Like, everything's been so hard that I made a pact with myself to just do whatever it is I want to do. And then whenever I'm feeling better, if that ever happens again, then I'll swing back around and take a more critical look at it. But until then, I'm just going to do stuff and be like, yay, I did something.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, when I got out of school, right after I got out of school, it was hard for me to kind of get past, make enough so that I had enough to edit.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's like, I'm actually kind of on I started off doing these drawings that I called dumb drawings, right? And I kind of like all of them now.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, not all of them, but like the more I keep adding to the setup, and it's just a really repeating, it's almost like they need each other because it's the rhythm between the different drawings. But when I started it, I was like, I hate this. Why am I drawing this? You know? And then after a certain while, like you kind of have to like push through that, which it's almost one of those dumb things that you have to relearn too. You know, like
Yeah.
you've been making art all this time, and you're like, but it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, actually, like, I think I don't give I kind of like just make these while I'm out hiking. Might take them back and do a couple little things with a fresh eye, like a couple days later or something. But mainly they're just like out there doing stuff. They don't have like crazy titles. They're just like, the name of the trail or whatever. And I don't know. They're like, my attention span has been, like I said, like more focused on these like big projects for the community or whatnot. But in my own personal practice, like, if I could get 3 hours and, focus, then.
It's amazing.
Right. I was like, and 3 hours is pushing it because I'm really talking about probably 2 hours, honestly.
It's crazy. The idea also of just making art full time, because how good are you in a week?
I mean, I once had this opportunity or this thing that happened that was amazing. It never happened like that before or after, but like when I first moved here, I had a solo show over in Australia, in Sydney, with this great gallery. And they sold a shit pile of work. And so I didn't have to have a day job for almost a year. And so I just treated it like a residency and only did, every day I'd go to the studio for 7 hours a day and work. And about 5 months into it, I realized that like, as a full-time studio artist, I just got kind of weird. Like, because like I wasn't really like seeing anybody or.
Wait. Oh, like the isolation made you like
kind of like.
It's like when people live alone and they forget like how they smell, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
that kind of stuff. Like I was definitely getting like, like peering out the window and being like, oh, it's that old lady walking that loud dog again. I hate her. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like. You need friends.
Yeah.
Time to go get some friends.
Well, Deborah, who's works in the studio, she's also talked about it, and she's like the closest thing to somebody that. I mean, there's so much closeness because she does ceramic. I know you know.
Yeah.
Ceramic restoration, but even that, like when you. To me, that's almost even more difficult, right? Like if I'm editing video all day at my job and then I'm making video art, like
yeah, that's a lot.
That sounds like my brain is already going to be fried by all of that, right? So it's interesting. It is an interesting question about how much is like a legit, like how many hours constitute a legitimate practice, right? I bet it's different for everybody.
Oh yeah, totally. And I mean, when you do it a long time, I mean, I found like. I used to scold myself like, oh, you only made 20 pieces this year or something, It's like the universe doesn't give a shit. Like, to calm down. Like, like you made as many as you made and you had shit go on and now you're a year older and you're going to do it again. It's not like you're going to quit, so fuck it, Like, I don't know.
That resonates with episodes too. It's like I don't need to be a martyr for this.
No, because it's like the only thing that you just like your great reward is that you burned yourself out.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
don't want to do it again.
Yeah, like this is a marathon, not a sprint.
For sure. It the more I get into it, like I'm not necessarily the more I do this, the more I start to I get an idea of what my ambitions are in terms of like even if I'm going to do any kind of commercial success, it's like, it's definitely, I'm not gunning for a commercial gallery space, right?
Right.
It doesn't seem like a beneficial relationship. It seems like there's a lot of pressure involved in that. I think that like the content creator space, I know, I've interviewed people that, like CCAM, who's in Austin, and people that have their own Etsy shops, and I'm like, why is there like such an academic way, like sense of throwing shade at that kind of Like,
Right.
so many people study art and they don't make a fucking living at it, right?
Right.
But as they're in school, they're like, oh, what's the Christian painter of light guy that everyone shits on? Kincaid? Thomas Kincaid.
Yeah.
It's like, we're all snooty and this motherfucker's living well while we're starving.
I know. It's like, yeah, it's definitely like, oh, you didn't make it into the commercial world? Well, fall on your sword.
Yeah,
and you're
exactly.
like, no, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
there's a million ways to do stuff. Like I said, like I don't have a problem with the commercial world at all, but I personally like, okay, so you talk about energy levels. Like, I mean, I feel like the alt space world is way more fulfilling.
Yes. Which is what this is literally what this show is. It's
Right.
like it exists in that space. Mostly because I don't have access to those people, but also like I mean, I booked the show. I could try.
Yeah.
Like this is what I want to talk to Deborah. I got into Monte Vista without even necessarily knowing how to do it.
Right.
But like I just was like interested in these people and hanging out with them, and they were like, "Oh, what you're doing is interesting, so come on board."
I mean, that's how it works.
That's how all of this shit works.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even want to say it's like a meritocracy because that doesn't even necessarily apply, but it's like people respond to people taking initiative. And
Right.
that's what maybe the commercial world doesn't reward quite as or it's like I couldn't even speak to it because I'm not even attempting that world. But like the commercial gallery space is more about like relationships and collectors and stuff like that.
Well, it's about money.
Yeah, exactly.
So like if you're a dick, but you make the gallery a bunch of money, they'll keep you.
Yeah.
But if you're a dick, in a collective, you get booted.
Yeah.
So you got to be nice.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
Because like we're all like spending our own money to do this, but we're also, there's an economy of time, but that feels more real to me. That feels like a more real way. Like I really truly enjoy openings at the Bendex.
Yes.
Like everybody's cool. Anybody who's like being a turd has taken off at this point. You know what I mean? They've gone elsewhere.
And there's definitely like, I feel like, I mean, and this, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I feel like there's definitely collegial nature. Okay.
Oh yeah, because we're all
even between the spaces, even though there might be some sort of like, maybe this space is not my scene. Like it's genuinely egalitarian, where it's like, well, they're doing their thing,
Right.
like it's like I guess what I'm saying specifically is that there are spaces, unlike Monte Vista, where the artists that are part of that are members show their own work, right?
Yeah.
Which I think different people approach different ways, but I don't necessarily like think that they're invalid. And I feel like that is a healthy space. Just because we have an ethos doesn't mean that everybody that doesn't follow those guidelines is like wrong. You know?
In fact, I think the more that we work together and the more we like let in other ways of doing things, the stronger and richer it is.
Yeah.
And a broader audience that we bring for the artists that we show.
But and then the other thing is the amazing like networking. Like I actually just realized that I know some of the artists that were in Celebrity. Well, I know one of them. I know of the other one, but they're part of a collective in Pittsburgh, I think it was, or in New York. I forget exactly what I think it's Double Project or something like that. But I heard about them through TSA LA.
Yeah.
And so like little things like that, like is cool. Like to be part of that exchange. Like I've had people get shows from doing the podcast.
Right.
Like, and to me, that's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's great.
That's like maybe the best thing that's come out of doing the show.
Yeah.
Aside from the things that came directly to me, like, I'm like, fuck, man, someone listened to it, thought the conversation was interesting, and looked at an artist like, what more could I possibly fucking want?
Right.
You know, like
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like that. So I really, but I think that's kind of the vibe with everybody in the alternative space, which is what I really like. You know, like it's a broader, it's a neural net of, I mean, actually, I don't know what neural net means, but it's a network.
Yes.
I heard the word today, and I just realized that when I heard it, I was like, I should look that up. It's some AI shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a network of people that are like, hey man, you're doing something cool. Like you're doing something cool. Like let's, you know, as much as I bitch about how much I've done for free on this podcast and not like, you know, and in the broader sense of my worth in the capitalist system, it doesn't help my self-esteem to do so much work for nothing. It like has brought me to a support system, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, that continues to happen and flourish. And so, you know, when you say like, oh, you seem to know everybody, I don't, but I do know a lot of people, but it's from just continuously working with everybody. And those kind of, you hear about certain things that certain people are doing, and then somebody will come up and be like, hey, I need an intern, or I need somebody who can build a wall or whatever.
Oh, I'll build you a fucking wall.
Can you build walls?
Yeah.
I can sort of build walls.
I built an entire gallery with like, I don't even remember how many walls, but it was fucking big.
Really?
For Frederick Nisner. It was. I mean, I was taught how to do it. I wasn't born knowing how to put up sheetrock.
It wasn't in your blood.
No, it's definitely not in my Cuban aristocratic background.
You're like, I know how to do this, guy.
Yeah, no, but what's it called? Yeah. But I love all of those things. Like those are things that like I'm never gonna fucking make a living putting up sheetrock, but it's nice that I could. You know, like I'm definitely gonna die if I do it at this point and breathe in all the fucking joint compound. But
I'm pretty good at mudding. I can do a pretty solid mudding job.
Yeah. But all those things, like I do like I don't know. I do like that these are things that put you in the world. You know, I feel like I feel like. Even though it took me 45 minutes to set up all this shit, it put me in the world, you know. And then you also got to see me like slave away a little bit.
I know. I just sat here like a lazy
No,
dude.
I prefer that because that like then I don't have to be like, oh, you got to do it like this.
Yeah, I figured you had a thing going, and I was like, there's way too many wires.
I think people at this point are starting to just like let me set up.
Well, you get a feral look about you.
I do. I'm like, okay. I mean, you got to make sure that everything is in the right place. But it's satisfying. You know, like it always happens the same way. It's like with all of these things. I think it's like before I got here, I was like, oh, really? I could do nothing. Yeah. But then I'm here, and I'm like, oh my! Like when I get home, I'm like, oh, I got footage. Blah blah blah. You know.
Right.
So,
yeah, there's always that like. I get the same way, like, right before I go out to an opening, I'm like, or, you know, it's like, no, dude, just go. You're going to have a good time. Stop it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and then, you know, especially with the whole last 2 years, like, the habits that I've developed to cope with the lack of socializing.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of, like, eating too much. Yeah.
Right.
And just like eating to feel better, you're drinking too much. You used to not drink by yourself. It suddenly became okay to drink by yourself.
I mean, like
it hasn't necessarily stopped.
No, it hasn't. Like, yeah, drinking by yourself is like not really an issue anymore
at all, right?
Well, because what else were you going to do? It was the end of the world. I mean, there was a point in my neighborhood where there was riots. Everything was boarded up. And then we had peaceful protests, which were great. But they're also like incredibly loud and let off like a certain kind of energy that is very, very potent. And then
I don't think I mean, I can't imagine what it must have been like to have the protest right outside your house, because even without that sense was there.
Yeah.
You know, like that anxiety, the helicopters were always above.
Yeah.
And LA was a fucked up place at that point.
Well, there's at one point, there was those kind of like urban tanks.
Yes.
Because they were using them on my street.
On your street? Wow.
Because, like, on my street was where they were there. And so helicopters, in military ones. So it's not just like you get one set of propellers, you get double, and then there's several of them. It got to the point where, like the water in my toilet was jumping around. Wow. It was not cool. And then, like, I don't know, there was like some bullshit on Instagram about like turning your portrait black.
Yeah.
And I was just like, actually, I'm going to go sweep broken glass out of my driveway.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little busy.
Yeah.
No,
the performative thing. And to me, not to make too crazy a point, but I feel like there is such a performative thing that happened there that is breaking my heart. I recently saw a meme that made me research something. Like I saw a meme about naive realism. I didn't know what that was.
No, I don't know
but
what that is.
But I definitely suffer from that. And I know about it. So basically what it means is that you think that like you have an objective view of reality.
Right.
That shit made me realize I didn't, because since then, what I thought people were learning from that experience is not at all what they learned.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get in too much of the political side of things, but like, it frustrates me when, like, we're going back to the marginalizing, like everybody's a Nazi now. Right, like in protests movements, like there were Nazis in the convoy, so everybody there is a Nazi. Like we're literally giving weapons to Nazis now and cheering it on in Ukraine.
Right,
and it is so concerning to me that like the division that people have between, the compartmentalization between January 6th. And like January 6th is the end of the world, but like, no, this is cool.
Right.
Like to me, it's like, okay, so America is bad towards its citizens, but good towards the rest of the world. Like I don't understand how people are not more suspicious.
I don't know. I don't know.
But anyway, the main point that I'm making is more about that idea of just like, I don't know. I think maybe we did become more isolated and more like bubbled because we didn't have you couldn't go on the internet and research something and then interact with someone and see how people would react.
Right. So right. I mean, and I think the projects that we've been doing where it's very inclusive and like lets people come in and essentially like building sandboxes, that people can like work in, I think has been like a really good way to, I mean, we're still in bubbles and all that kind of stuff,
No, but I can definitely speak as a consumer of high beams that it was helpful to me.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Like on a very, very real level. Like, okay. I went with Jamie. That was the first time I met you.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was definitely needed. I mean, it was a year of lockdown. Yeah. And that was when we thought we might be getting away with not wearing masks too much. Like, remember there was a period where it was like, oh, if you're vaccinated, you don't need masks.
Yeah, for 3 weeks.
Yeah, people were still wearing masks at the opening, at the high beams, but it still felt like, like we were seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, and then we went back down.
Yeah, yeah. And now, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I've had COVID twice.
I've had it once.
I've had it more. But I'm kind of over it.
I think
a little
that's
bit.
The general consensus.
Yeah, I mean, especially of course, keep your eyes open, and if you have, folks that are more susceptible, I have some friends who've had like organ transplants and stuff like that, and so like, I just am mindful to make sure that, I wear a mask in supermarkets and stuff like that because I want to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
And it would be devastating if I was the person who gave them that thing and something terrible happened to them. So in that way, I'm vigilant, but, we just had a soft opening for our new show at Tiger Strikes Asteroid a couple nights ago on Thursday. And I got there, had my mask on and stuff, and there was a ton of people there just not wearing masks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm not wearing a mask either. Screw it. Let's just like go be normal.
I thought I was going to have to confess that I would be one of those people because I don't wear masks anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
but there was a moment where like, dude, because, okay, I wore a mask at fucking work every single day.
yeah.
I got so used to it, and I still don't want to wear it. You know, like it wasn't even a thing for me. But the day that we were allowed to take them off, I fucking took it off right away.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Like
And it protected me because I didn't get that shit till Omicron. That's like, I mean, I lasted 2 years. I lasted multiple waves.
Yeah.
You know, because I was interacting with people in public, so I was careful. I didn't catch that shit. I had the vaccine, but that shit was worn on. Like, you know,
right.
That doesn't last forever. So for 2 years, you know, I still managed to maintain. And then I finally got it, and I was like, it's because it was Omicron. It was really mild, but it was mild for like 10 days. Like I was sick 10 days. And I had just recorded something with Deborah at Track 16, and I was so fucking worried that I would get them sick and just become like blacklisted.
Right. No,
Sean and Deborah hating me.
No, they're cool. They wouldn't have done that. But no, I hear you. Like,
well, I was also pretty anti-mandate on social media. So if that was one moment where I was like, oh shit, like people know that I'm like,
right,
not like, yes, we all obey,
right.
And then if I get them sick, they're gonna hate me, you know.
You know, I did the whole mask thing, but partially I did it like our, you know, the bungalow I live in is right next to a middle school.
Is the bungalow where the protests were happening, or was that okay?
Yeah. Well, I only moved from right around the corner.
Oh, that's right.
So like I mean like 1 minute around the corner on foot if you stop for a minute and look at stuff. I mean, I'm like in my backyard I can see the front of my old apartment. It's bonkers. But yeah, so I'd wear it as like solidarity for the little kids, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like smoking around little kids or something like, just like chill out.
You'd wear the mask around the little kids?
Yeah, as solidarity. Cause you know, it's like, you know, like grown-ups are doing the thing and these guys weren't able to get vaccinated. So good for you, little dude. You know, I'm aware of it too, you know, that kind of thing. Or little dudette. I don't want to just say dude, but anyway.
I'm sure you're not getting canceled for that.
Hey, go ahead and cancel me. I'm not on the internet, and I don't give a fuck.
You have a website. It could be deplatformed.
I don't even know what that means.
Damn, you've been living a good life.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Damn, yo. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm doing now is with social media is that I'm definitely going to just fucking automate everything.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I don't even have to look at it. I spend way too much time. I would rather do so many other things with my phone than just look at social media. Even just TikTok is better than Instagram. I don't know.
I just learned what TikTok was like 6 months ago.
It's like YouTube, but like kind of better.
Yeah, see,
because you don't. It's like it sells. You know. Have you ever tried to like find something to watch before times when you did watch?
BC before Corona.
Before Corona.
Yeah.
When you would try to find something on Netflix, but there's too much to watch. That's kind of the problem you have with YouTube. TikTok just feeds you shit, and you just skip it or don't. Oh, and that is a really powerful thing. And like it's so powerful that TikTok checks in with you. They have videos that pop up and it's like, hey, you've been scrolling for a while. Maybe go do something else. Like, that's how dangerous of a drug that shit is. I'm watching Snowfall now, which is the FX show about the crack epidemic in LA. And it totally reminds me of that. Like, what I just said just triggered that.
Right. Oh, my God. Yeah, no, I just, like, I can't really sit around. I'm not really that interested in the internet.
No,
I just don't care. Like, I mean, like, and I'm busy with these projects, and like, everybody's like, yeah, but nobody will know what you're doing. And I'm like, one, I don't give a fuck, and
Everybody
two,
knows what you're doing.
yeah, and two, like, I'm working with everybody, so
Yeah.
everybody knows because they're there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, like, fuck this shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need Instagram for this.
Jamie Hamilton, our friend, is also like that, and I think he was doing the BLA Connect, but the artists that were going to go in his space decided not to do it because he has no social media presence.
Oh, I think they're still doing it.
Oh, they're still doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
But yeah, he doesn't have well. So there was concern because so Jamie and Hannah like made up Last Ditch, and Last Ditch never had a physical space because it was created for high beams, and so they would do stuff in the spaces that we got, and so they wanted to participate again because it's fun doing this shit.
Says the drug dealer.
Hey, try some of this shit. It's super fun.
This alternative art space shit is
Just put it in your vein, man.
Keep you coming, bro.
But so anyway,
but he has a space though, technically.
Yeah, he'll have the front of the. So those.
Oh wait, no, he's not using his studio.
No, he is.
Oh, okay.
Like the front part.
Oh yeah.
So it's big.
That studio's huge.
It's huge, and he'll have two. I mean, he used to do shows up there before they called it Last Ditch.
Yeah, he's done. It was just like his studio.
Right. Yeah. So he would do
the camera obscura thing. He did. He actually did the harness thing, but inside the studio space, which was cool.
I fell out of that one.
Oh really? I spent so much of that evening just sitting in that. Yeah.
No, it was great. I was in it for a bit, and then I went to get out of it, and I was trying to hold a glass of wine, and I'm extremely clumsy, and that shit was just like, there's Carl, and now there's Carl on the floor.
So you made it all the way down to the floor? Because that shit was high.
Yeah, I fell off of it. I was okay though. Somehow I landed okay, but
and for the listener, basically he put that same net, just at a little bit high up in the studio because it has high ceilings.
Right.
And then you can just look out the window. So it was a similar effect, but with much more light inside. So you couldn't necessarily see out into LA as much.
Yeah, no, the one on the roof was gorgeous because you got
But when he told me he was doing that, I was like, "Are you sure?"
I know. Well, yeah, I also was like, I'm not sure. We're gonna need to check that with the building.
And the way that Jamie is, he's like, "No, it'll be fine." He knows shit, so but he knows things that you don't.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like, "No, it'll be fine." Okay, well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he really does know his shit.
And, no, for sure.
And he is a person who, can walk tightrope. So that's
Well, he made the net himself too.
I mean, this dude knows what's up.
He made the net that he caught himself on while doing tightrope walking. I think he knows what he's doing, or he'd be dead.
Right, exactly. And that was the thrust of the argument for putting it up there, by the way. And to the Bendix
it catches
folks,
me. I totally can picture this argument with him.
Yeah.
I have arguments with him like this too.
Well, this was more of me taking it to the building manager and being like, look, this is how it will work. It doesn't. This guy does this stuff, and it's not going to fire children out into the city.
And your impression is fucking good. It's like his calm frustration at having to explain something that he understands and that is understandable, but you just haven't done the research. It's
right.
Just trust me on it.
Yeah, no. and they actually they let us do the drone thing.
Yeah.
They've been very, very generous and trusting and have let us do some stuff that's been really super cool.
Actually, the fact that Bendix let you even do that fucking thing is insane.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So anyway, yay Bendix.
Yeah. No,
as a new tenant, I want to say to the camera.
Yeah.
Bendix, you're all right.
Yeah. Good job. Good job, y'all. Wait, which one do I look at?
Yours is
oh,
that
okay.
one. This one picks us both up too. Well, cool, man. All right, I feel like we should start wrapping up because I don't want to take too much of your time, and I'm gonna have to undo this.
Oh, right. And then we got to get tacos.
Yeah, we got to get tacos.
I mean, they're really good. The fish tacos are.
I've never done the fish tacos. I like their pastor.
Oh yeah, that's also great.
Yeah, this is the little taco stand outside of Also Gallery.
Yeah,
And
La Estrada.
La Estrada.
Yeah,
And then there's a skate park. That's like this is all in my neighborhood.
yeah.
This is like
You should try the fish taco.
I'll do it. Yeah.
All right, let's
I like.
do it.
Have you ever been to the El Siete Mares Express?
No, where's that?
That's on Broadway and I forget the cross street, but it's like right where the Bank of America is.
Oh, okay.
It's like one street over, near the shoe store, the DSW shoe store or whatever.
Okay.
But anyway, that place has really good fish tacos.
Oh,
So
excellent.
so that's why I
Pro tip.
yeah, I didn't want to like betray them, and that's why I went with the Al Pastor. I didn't want to discover a better one, but I'll do that today.
I mean, I had the same run-in with Wendy's Tortas.
Yes. I've never been there, but I've heard. What's your order there?
Well, okay,
your
so
go-to?
their fish tacos are good, but these are better across the street.
Okay.
But what I get there is the pulled pork torta.
That's good.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I mean, if you eat that kind of stuff.
No, I did. I mean, I'm Cuban. I have to eat pork. It's
Right.
required.
Yeah, that's like your national bird.
Yeah. It's our poultry. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Well, I'll definitely have you back on the show somewhere down the line.
Yeah,
especially because of the convenience of just coming down.
I mean, we can get tacos.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's a killer combo.
So you are Carl Baratta on social media, but you don't do anything there. You can still follow him though.
Yeah.
And
just shoot me an email, carlbaratta@gmail.
At Gmail, if you have anything you want to pitch him, any ideas of crazy new projects that he can come up with.
Oh my God, we'll see. I'll let you know who emails me.
Probably no.
Yeah, probably nobody.
Oh well, actually, you know what? One of the things that I did want to circle back onto, but we can leave this for next time, is to talk about what you were doing with painting before, because I did check out your website. But people can also go to your website.
Oh yeah, and you can actually contact me there too, and that's carlbaratta.biz. No, I'm joking. .com.
And it's Carl with a C and Baratta. How do you spell the Baratta?
Baratta.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for checking us out. I got to get used to like playing to the camera when I'm talking to the audience. I got to and do reaction shots. That's one of the things that I've been thinking about. Is like if you say something and I'm just react to the camera, be like,
yeah, that's pretty good. Or like, like
what? There's a whole subgenre of reaction videos, and I'm trying to come up with different ones for because I'm going to do YouTube content outside of the podcast itself.
Yeah,
and I want to do just react to like old commercials. I think would be a fun one. So I might
even get back on YouTube to check it out.
Well, I might have you on to do one of those, to do a reaction video to.
Oh, I can ham it up,
and then we can just react to this commercial and be like, "Oh my God, you remember the '80s?"
Yeah, I do.
One in particular I'm thinking about is the Blues Brothers Super Soaker commercial. Did you ever? There were these two kids and they show up to a party.
Are they dressed like the Blues Brothers?
And they whip out these briefcases that have super soakers in them, and they just hit everybody.
I think I have a brain cell that's still rattling around. Yeah, it's got a little bit of that commercial rubbed up on it, or however the science works. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does feel like our brain cells are humped by commercials sometimes.
Yeah, dry hump.
Dry hump. All right. Thank you for checking us out. We'll be back next week. And you can find us everywhere.